if you, like me, are reading a lot of queer theory, you have come across Eve Kosofsky Sedgwick, Epistemology of the Closet, a book that was published in 1990, but written in the late 1980s. And yeah, well, what is it about? Because it's quite a complicated read, because she uses such elaborate but very beautiful language. Well, it's basically literary criticism, but she analyzes books that came out in the late 19th century and which supposedly reflect the mindset of that time and also our time, because it was a new time in the late 19th century. In 1870, homosexuality was invented. That means that the term was coined. Some people were seen as inverted or genuinely different, almost like a new species, whereas before that year, homosexual acts had been, everyone could do them, and it was seen as behavior, an act, and not as an identity or a species. So I think that that's the main point, to try to summarize the era of binarisms, of hetero or homo, natural or unnatural, private or public, and so on. But in doing so, I mean, today the view on sexualities in academia is that they are constructed from the social relations that we have in society. So that is a constructivist view that was promoted by Michel Foucault in History of Sexuality. But at the same time, people cling to this identity of homosexuality quite fervently, they cling to it almost as if it's an essentialist identity. And why is that, she asks? Well, not so much because people identify as homosexuals with the identity, but even more because people identify against homosexuality. So homosexuality as a term is needed for people's self-image in this era of binaries. And it's also an era of knowledge, or to think that we can know things about each other, to think that there is what Michel Foucault called an inner truth. But if you think that there is something to know about everyone, that also means that there is something to hide. And that's where the title comes in, right? We live in the paradigm of the closet because we can hide things in the closet. And sometimes we just think we can hide it, but everyone can see it. That's a glass closet. It's fascinating, right? That we have this belief in this thing that can be hidden or shown, it can be private or public, but no matter how we relate to it, we still believe in this thing, this monster. And I think that that is the takeaway from this book, to sort of undress that monster a little bit and show how it was constructed, how it came into being through medical and legal discourse, starting in 1870, and how it has ever since then been debated. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it essential? Is it constructivist? And so on. Debates that in themselves are demeaning, because behind them lurks the fantasy or the wish of a world without homosexual, Eve Kosofsky Sedgwick writes. It's very convincing, and it's very touching at times to read this book, especially when she comes to the Beast in the Jungle by Henry James. I found that relationship between the man and the woman very moving, actually. Most of it is about Proust and In Search of Lost Time, and she also analyzes Billy Budd by Herman Melville. And the thing is, as tedious as some of these analyses can be when you read them, I think you need to read the whole book in order for the coin to drop. it's the understanding that I got from this book came between the lines, I would say. So, yeah, I think you should read this one if you are studying anything in the realm of sexualities and identities.